5L8 Promontory Point and heading down to 6A2 down at the bottom of the southeast arm. Windy, rainy night last night. Lots of wind actually. So, but it died down about, I don't know, I woke up at 1 a.m. and it's calm out. It's raining. So probably have a little bit of a headwind today. It seemed the wind was coming up this arm yesterday, so we have a tailwind the rest of our trip. Go back up. It might take us a little longer to get to camp today, but we'll see. See how things roll. I'll check back in later. A little bit of chop. We make our way down the southeast arm, about to pass the first campsite going down. Would check my map to see where we're at, but I don't want to do it with chop. All good. Pushing through. Check back in later. Alright, we're going around Molly's Islands now. We just pulled off for a little bit of a break. We've pretty much been paddling in borderline whitecaps the whole time. You can see it's a little choppy here. I'm not sure if it's at our back now as we head down towards the shore. We got to stay a half a mile.
This is a vacation compared to what we just did for 2 hours.
Yeah, we just busted it for 2 hours, and not the most ideal weather conditions. There's not a cloud in the sky, so, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I don't know where the wind was coming from or why it was choppy or what's going on. I mean, it was like howling wind all last night until about 1 a.m. So a little bit of thunder, a little bit of lightning, and it rained, so maybe that's just the aftermath of that is possibly what was going on, but who knows. We pulled off in a little cove and got our bearings and realized we're about 2 miles from camp, so we are pretty down here. We're in the bottom of the southeast arm. So now we're going down towards the shore, and then because we got to stay a half a mile from Molly's Islands, just nesting ground for white pelicans. So we got to stay away from it. And we are. So this is our last long day, though. Should call it that. We should be at camp by 10:30, 10:30, like that. Tomorrow we only got about 3 clicks to camp. The next day about 3 clicks to camp. The next day about 3 clicks to get picked up. So, and if it's like this on any of those days, the wind will be at our backs. So that's what our shuttle driver said. Although our shuttle driver said yesterday's paddle was going to be our toughest day, but I will have to tell him that this one was our toughest day. Well, that day we had to pull off for 3 hours was kind of tough, but it was only tough having to wait. Like after we waited it out, it was fine.
Yeah.
So
this was the hardest paddle.
This was the hardest paddle by far. So we're not even really going that far. Which, if I have any recommendations, if you ever want to do this trip, I recommend you do it how we did it here, because every single one of our days was a manageable paddle. And even if the weather was bad, we had plenty of time to still make camp. even if we had to pull off. Could I have shortened this? Probably 2 days, probably, yeah. But probably would have made some of the paddle days a little more stressful. There were a couple days where it was pretty calm and glassy most of the day, so. I'll check back in at camp. I'll just give you a view here, some meadows and stuff. Pretty here. So. Alright, check back in at camp. Real pretty meadow here. There's some mule deer back there, some sandhill cranes, Canadian geese. Some white pelicans were just there. I don't know, you probably can't see the mule deer in the back of the field there. There's a bald eagle way down there. Alright, check back in at camp. Bald eagle flying over there.
You can hear its wings. So the juvenile's there?
Alright, we got a lot of bald eagles here. We got one here in this tree. We got one in this tree. And you can see the silhouettes of the 3 right in front of me there on the point. So we've got 5 bald eagles right here at our camp. I think these 2 are juveniles right here. Might be another juvenile over there, and maybe they're all juveniles, I don't know. Check back in later. There's 2 juvenile eagles and an adult right here. And some fish crows.
Hello, eagle family.
Alright, greetings from campsite 6A2 at the bottom of the southeast arm of Yellowstone Lake. Fire pit area. Bear box. There's a little inlet that runs in here, and you've got this really picturesque little pond back here. There were some swans here when we got here. There's your view for your fire. I've been hanging in the shade here. So we were thinking about putting the tent right here, but it's so exposed that we changed our minds after the howling wind last night. So we're back down there in the trees. A little uneven, but a little bit of a slant, but not the end of the world. And this is the trail up to the toilet. It's our last campsite with a toilet. Well, I guess you could call it a toilet, something to sit on. Our next 2 sites do not have toilets. I don't think anyways, didn't say on our permit, so. Not a bad view walking to the crapper. I don't think I've videoed any of the toilets so far. Oh, they all look the same. Looking down into the pond. Right there's the John. Lots of birds at this site. As soon as it cools down this evening, I'll get my binoculars out. And there's your John. All right, tomorrow really short paddle. About 3 miles tomorrow, 3 miles Saturday, then 3 miles to our pickup. So check in tomorrow. All right, good morning from 6E2. We only have about a little over 3 mile paddle this morning to our next campsite, so having a little morning fire and some breakfast and coffee. So last night I was walking up to the bathroom on the ridge and looked across the way. I heard a splash in the pond, and across the pond a black bear was crossing the pond, and went up. If you can see here, there's some white trumpeter swans on the other side of the pond. That's about where it crossed over. It walked across and went up, and then it went up over, crossed way out there, crossed over, then went up and over that knob. I watched it for a little bit. The wind was in our favor. I don't even think it knew. It might have not even known we were here. But I hesitated whether to tell Catherine I saw it, and I ended up telling her. So, but it was fine. Doesn't want anything to do with us. We keep a clean camp and keep everything do as you're supposed to in the backcountry. So that's all that you can really do. But yeah, water looks nice this morning. It's about probably almost 8:30, and we're gonna.
It is 8:15.
8:15. We're gonna head out shortly. No rush. We'll be at camp. It's right. Actually, it's right across the way over there. So we'll follow the shoreline down around and come back up. And 2 nights left. We'll be at 5E2 tonight, then 5E4 the next night, and then we get picked up at campsite 5E6 at 10:30 the next morning. So check in later. All right, we are leaving campsite 6E2. We're going to pass 6E3, and then we are stopping at 5E2 tonight. So right across the way. Looks close, but probably about 3-ish miles or so today, about 3-ish miles tomorrow, and then about 3-ish, a little more miles to our pickup. It's a little after 9. We'll still be at camp in plenty of early time. Not a cloud in the sky, very hazy. I don't know if there's a forest fire somewhere or if it's just hazy. But the water's calm, not like yesterday, man. Yesterday was white knuckle paddling pretty much the whole time until 9 a.m. So it's the largest waves that this boat has ever been in. But we made it, and in all honesty, I never really felt all that unsafe. What about you, Catherine?
I didn't feel unsafe. I wouldn't say it was easy.
No, it definitely wasn't easy.
I mean, after 2 hours of like really booking it,
Yeah.
I was tired and sore.
And we took our time coming into camp because we saw a lot of eagles. So really nice campsite though. If you don't mind, you don't mind a little bear activity. I had read a trip report before leaving on this trip from somebody who journaled this trip years ago with their father and daughter, and they had seen a bear at this camp as well. So, but they saw theirs in the morning. We saw ours in the evening last night. So, but pretty uneventful night. Some trumpeter swans. A little bit of wind. Nothing crazy though. Check back in later. A couple more views of the South Arm. That's where we came from right there. And we're going straight across over there, right below that little hump. Well, it looks little on camera, but not a little where it probably ate out. Alright, we pulled off. There's a little patrol cabin here at the bottom of the southeast arm called the Trail Creek Cabin. Patrol cabin. Pretty neat little spot. 2 cabins. Yeah, pretty cool. Alright, we just made this crossing from way back there. And we're, I don't know, half a mile from camp. Alright, we are at 5E2. Catherine over there reading, doing something. Fire pit. Old elk antlers. View from the fire pit. This site is also accessible from the thoroughfare trail as well. So backpackers can use it. The bear hang right there. Another just super calm day. Good days like this. This is our second to last campsite. Our last campsite will be tomorrow. Not a whole lot of places to put a tent at this site, so but did find a spot. And here is the tent for tonight. Spot. Alright, we'll check in tomorrow. Alright, we are leaving 5E2, heading 3 miles to 5E4. We have a tailwind. So I imagine we'll be there in an hour. Campsite was okay, probably my least favorite. Bear hang spot was a pain. Tent spots weren't great. It's kind of weedy. Bugs weren't bad though, for me anyways. Catherine might disagree, but Alright, check back in later. Well, the lake really kicked up this afternoon. It's 2:30. Good thing we don't have is a lot worse than this about 10 minutes ago. Good thing we're not paddling in this. Less than 24 hours until extraction. Alright, welcome to campsite 5E4. The wind's been blowing since about 2 o'clock and the lake is absolutely angry. So, pretty nice sight. Bear hang. Firing over here, Catherine eating dinner. And here's our tent site over here. It's the flattest spot. Nice view. It's so hazy out. Yeah, hopefully this settles down before tomorrow morning because we get picked up at 5E6 at 10:30 in the morning tomorrow. So hopefully this all calms down this evening and we're able to get to our extraction point, or we could be in a little bit of trouble. So we'll just see kind of what happens. Maybe he can get the boat in here. I'm not 100% sure. So anyways, I'll check back in tomorrow. Not much filming today. Our paddle was only an hour. So check back in tomorrow. All right, we have just left campsite 5E4, our day 8 spot. It is day 9 and we are headed to our extraction point, which is campsite 5E6, about 3-ish miles away. So we're not getting picked up till 10:30 apparently, and it's only 10 till 8. So we'll take our time getting over there, and hopefully RB is early today to pick us up in the Otter. I couldn't find my hat this morning, and I was starting to lose my mind about, I knew that I had thrown it in with my bags and stuff last night before bed. Well, something, I'm guessing a squirrel, must have gotten in the bag and taken my hat out and dragged it into the woods and chewed it. I was able to locate it, but I think I'm just gonna have to trash it, unfortunately. So
Second item chewed of Justin's.
A mule deer tried to take my binoculars several days ago. So anyways, we're off. We're gonna take our time getting over there. The lake is calm ish. Got some little rollers, but we're gonna take our time getting over there, and then we'll unpack the boat and get things ready and just make sure we're in the right spot. We actually are getting picked up at a spot a little bit before campground 5E6, so gonna figure that out and be ready and put a bow on this trip. Check in later. There's our boat coming to pick us up. Check in later. All right, I wanted to go over the entirety of our trip with you, so you could kind of see the entirety of our trip. So we got dropped off right here at 7L5, right here at Wolf Point. We paddled around this point and over to 7L4. That was our first night. Night number 2, we went from 7L4. We went down, we cut this bay, we came around, we cut this bay, came down to Flat Mountain Arm. We came down around in this area and cut across. And then we came up to 7M3 for night number 2. Then night number 3 is where we got beached. So we didn't have any problems leaving here. We came up and around, and as soon as we came around this point right here, this is where we got beached at 7M4 for about 3 hours or so. And then once everything calmed down, we were good to go. And we came down all the way to 7M9 for night number 3. Then we left 7M9, came down and around, came down in here, come down, cross Peel Island, that's where the little ranger cabin was. We came up and camped at 5L3 for night 4, Chipmunk Creek. Then we left Chipmunk Creek and came all the way back up the South Arm, all the way to 5L8, Promontory Point. This is where the mule deer wouldn't leave us alone. Where we had some high winds and things. And then whenever we came down, the next night we came down the Southeast Arm. This is where we had all the real whitecap paddling all the way down. This is where we came down and we hid inside this cove here by 6A1. We hid down in this cove here for about 20 minutes and then everything calmed down. Then we had to come down and we had to stay clear of Molly's Island. It's a bird nesting area. So we had to come down and really follow the shore because you'd stay half a mile. And then we stayed at 6A2. This is where we saw the bear. You can see there's a little pond in here. And I saw the bear on the back side of that pond. Then we left 6A2 and came up and around, cut this bay a little bit, cut this bay a little bit, and we stayed over at 5E2 for night 7. And then we left 5E2. Then we left 5E2 and paddled up to 5E4 for night 8. And then we left 5E4. We were originally supposed to get picked up at this point here because of water levels, if water levels were low, but they weren't low. They had had enough rain. So we went around this point and we got picked up right here, right before 5E6. And that's the entirety of our lake. Of our trip. Appreciate you watching. The map really doesn't put into context how absolutely massive this lake is. It is gigantic. And if you think about doing a trip like this and you want some tips or any help, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help. Thanks again for watching. Until our next trip.